Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Thanks for listening to another edition of After Further Review by I Could Be Wrong Sports. I hope you are having a great start to your week. My name is Brad, of course, and I'm back to break down the action from Sunday in week 8 of the NFL season. I want to start with some action that actually has nothing to do with the NFL. Some news that broke yesterday that has to do with college football. Let me start with this. I want to start by saying I don't want people to lose their jobs, obviously. I want everyone to be employed, gainfully employed, and to be able to feed their family, things of that nature. However, at the same time, when you are going to get a $54 million buyout while losing your job, I'm going to make an exception and I'm going to say, you know what? The hell with it. Brian Kelly, you got what you deserve. Okay. Yes, sir. You thought that you were going to leave Notre Dame and go to LSU and just be able to get talent to show up and you were going to win just because of the LSU brand. Well, you got talent to show up because of the LSU brand. Unfortunately for you and for their fans, though, you still have to coach at a high level when you bring in those talented players, which is what you did not do. Brian Kelly showed the world that his failures in South Bend had nothing to do with the academic standards or the recruiting at Notre Dame. And it had everything to do with the fact that he's just not a championship level coach in the collegiate ranks. There, I said it. I'm glad you got fired, Brian Kelly, because you're still getting paid. That's why. If you weren't getting paid, I'd feel for you. But you're getting 54 million to not do your job. That's how bad you are. They are going to pay you $54 million to not show up to work. Let that sink in for a minute. I love to be a tiger. Yeah, go sit your ass down somewhere, bum. All right, moving on to the NFL action Sunday. I want to start with the Buffalo Bills. Uh, the Buffalo Bills are just fine. The real Buffalo Bills offense was on full display yesterday with James Cook, Josh Allen, and the receivers, everyone doing their job, and they looked phenomenal. So I know it's going to be a tough battle. It's going to be a close race with New England when it comes to the AFC East. However, I will say again, the Buffalo Bills' real offense was on full display yesterday. And if the defense that showed up for Buffalo shows up for the rest of the season, I do believe that they have the edge and they will win the division one more time. Now, whatever happens moving forward is a different story because I will say this. And this is coming out of that same game, or not the same game, but the same division. The 2024 quarterback draft class is ridiculously good. You got Drake May, you got Jaden Daniels, who we all know had the best rookie season in the history of the NFL last year. He's been banged up a little this year, but we know what he can do. You got Bo Nix. You even have Caleb Williams, who's starting to show flashes and show signs that he might be what people thought he was going to be. So I could say this as a longtime football fan, and I'm sure most lifelong football fans can say the NFL is in really, really good hands when it comes to the future, because there's some really, really good quarterbacks that are out there right now, really young and good quarterbacks that are leading some of these teams. You have Drake May, who is giving New England fans Brady-esque excitement. I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady, but the fan base is excited just like they were when Tom Brady was there. And then you have a guy like Bo Nix, who is giving Denver's fan base and Denver's front office and their coaching staff, he's giving them every reason to believe that they can contend this year, contend right now with the defense that they have. So again, it's super exciting to see these young guys come in and give their teams and their fan bases a reason to believe. And as a, again, lifelong football fan, I love to see it because it just makes the game more fun when you can turn on any game and see a really good quarterback play. All right. Moving on to number four, my fourth biggest takeaway. I don't know how many I have, but this is number four on the list here. For those of you that listen and know me, you know that I am a diehard San Francisco 49ers fan, so this one hurts my heart. But the San Francisco 49ers need to add a pass rusher immediately. In addition to that, they need to add a new strength and conditioning staff because the one they have is not very good. They showed a stat yesterday during the game, and this will change because we had more guys get injured yesterday, but they showed a stat yesterday that said since Kyle Shanahan took over as head coach of the 49ers in 2017, the 49ers have a total of 2,036 games missed due to injury, most in the league, obviously, by far, which is just ridiculous because of how good their offense is when they're clicking, how good their defense is. We've seen the playoff runs that they've made. We've seen them come so close to winning the Super Bowl a couple of times under Shanahan, and just to think that it almost always gets derailed. I'm sorry, by injuries, and there's no real explanation why. It's just baffling to me. Now, with that being said, Houston dominated the game yesterday from beginning to end. The 49ers could not get any pass rush whatsoever on CJ Stroud, and the Houston offense looked like a juggernaut, which I think we all can agree that for the majority of this season so far, that's been the complete opposite way to describe the Houston Texans offense. But yesterday, they looked unstoppable because they were. San Francisco couldn't stop them on third down. They couldn't get off the field, having penalties called on them at the worst times. And then on the flip side, Houston's defense played a hell of a game. They dominated. I think it's starting to show that the 49ers need Brock Purdy. They need Ricky Pearsall. They need Brandon Ayuk. They need some of these guys to get back because although they've been holding the ship together and plugging holes, it's starting to become too many holes to plug for these backup guys. So, um, you know, as a lifelong 49ers fan, it hurts my heart to say this as well, but if they don't do something to improve their pass rush and make a difference on defense, the 49ers are at risk of fumbling away a 5-2 start to the season and potentially missing the playoffs altogether. 2 weeks ago, they were the number one seed in the NFC. As of right now, they are the number 7 seed in the NFC, barely hanging on to a playoff spot. So, Niners, John Lynch, we got to do something. We got to make a change. We got to add some pieces on that line somewhere to get some pass rush on the quarterbacks. Otherwise, what we saw yesterday is what we're going to see for the rest of the season. And that does not bode well for your playoff hopes. So let's get something done. Let's move on to a team that the 49ers played last week, and that is the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, they missed a golden opportunity yesterday to keep pace in the NFC, in my opinion. If you want to make the playoffs and you want to contend and potentially catch lightning in a bottle in the playoffs and go on a deep run, you can't lose games to the dysfunctional Dolphins like they did yesterday. Raheem Morris, bruh, what in the hell are you thinking? 9 rushes and 12 total touches for Bijan Robinson, who may be the best running back in the NFL outside of Jonathan Taylor. Like, I mean, it's clear that Kirk Cousins was extremely rusty, which is to be expected since he hasn't played in over a year. So why you wouldn't lean on the running game when you have a guy like Bijan Robinson makes no sense to me. And then obviously it got to the point where you couldn't lean on the running game because you were so far behind you had to throw the ball. I just don't understand what Raheem Morris was doing. I feel like, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, the Atlanta coaching staff is letting down their team. A team that has that much talent should not have a losing record at this point in the season. That's just all there, especially when you look at the way they've lost some of these games. They were not prepared yesterday. Looked like they were not prepared against San Francisco. So it's just it's kind of surprising to see it again, a team with that much. Again, I know the backup was in there yesterday, but they still have a lot of talent. Cousins has done. He's played before. He knows what he's doing. He's made a pretty good living in the NFL. It's not like he's a rookie. So the coaching staff should have had, in my opinion, a much better game plan. They should have leaned on the running game, asked Kirk Cousins to do a couple of things here and there and not lose the game for them. But it seemed like yesterday they asked him to win the game for them, and that obviously didn't work out in their favor. So Raheem Morris, get it together, buddy. All right, let's jump over to another foul feathered team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles, I have to admit, I was cautious after their second half last week where they looked great. I was cautious and I told everyone pump the brakes. Let's not say that they're completely back yet. I will say after yesterday's game, we could say that the Philadelphia Eagles finally put together a complete game. Was it a perfect game? No, but it was a complete game. All three facets played well, and they didn't have one half of terrible football and a second half of great football. They played pretty consistent throughout the entire game. Saquon got going early, finally broke out for an explosive play on the ground with a 65-yard touchdown run. Um, Everything just kind of seemed to click for Philadelphia all day. Obviously, the terrible injury to Cam Scatterbo had an impact on the game. I'm not saying that the Giants would have won had he not gotten injured, but it did have an impact. You could tell, and Philly just did what a champion needs to do. What a winning team does. What I want to ask though is it ironic or is it a coincidence? Like, is it a sign or is it a coincidence that the Philadelphia Eagles played what was probably their best game of the season from start to finish without AJ Brown being in the lineup? Just a question. Is that a sign or is that a coincidence? I'm not saying it is one way or the other. I'm just throwing it out there in the universe to ask folks what's going on there. So speaking of that game and speaking of Cam Scatterbo, obviously well wishes. Hopefully you get well soon to Cam Scatterbo, local product here out of ASU here in Arizona. Hopefully he's able to have a smooth recovery, and if it's meant to be, hopefully he's able to get back on the field and do what he loves to do and continue to entertain us and show us an exciting brand of football. Guy was really exciting to watch at ASU. He was super exciting to watch so far this season in his rookie season. And it's unfortunate that anytime anyone gets injured, definitely unfortunate when it's an injury that, takes you out for the whole season, possibly longer. So again, get well soon, Cam Scatterbo. Hopefully you have a smooth recovery. And as far as Giants fans go, unfortunately, you will remember the 2025 season as the season of what ifs. What if they had started Jackson Dart on day one and they didn't try the Russell Wilson experiment? What if Malik Neighbors doesn't get hurt for the entire season? And now, what if Cam Scatterbo doesn't get hurt for the entire season? So, a lot to be excited about if those guys can get back healthy, obviously, and you can get through the rest of this season without losing anybody else. But again, the 2025 season for the New York Giants and their fans will be the season of what ifs for sure. So, uh, unfortunate for them. Let's talk about the other New York team and another team in their division, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets reminded all of us yesterday why the NFL and professional football is the best sport in the entire world. The parity is real in the NFL, and it makes the game more exciting. Almost everyone in the world knew the Jets were going to lose and the Dolphins were going to lose, except for the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. And that's what makes the NFL so exciting, is that anybody can beat anybody anytime. We hear it all the time. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. And it's really true. And that's what makes the NFL such a great sport. Nobody would have pegged Indianapolis to have the best record in the entire NFL right now, but they do because of the parity in the NFL and because of how one player, one shift, one move by a team can change the entire landscape of the league. We're seeing it in the NFC as well with Micah Parsons being on Green Bay. Green Bay, number one seed in the NFC after making that trade. Micah Parsons has made a huge impact for them, right? So one move can change so much. And I'm not saying that the Daniel Jones move alone is what has Indy in the right direction. And I'm not saying that anything like that. But what I'm saying though is the Jets and Dolphins showed us that it doesn't matter if you have 0 wins, you have 1 win, you have no wins. You always got a shot because the teams are that close. They're that evenly matched. The gap between the best team and the worst team is not as far as what a lot of people think it is. So again, NFL is the greatest sport on earth, and yesterday just reminded us of that and why it's so exciting to watch. So although I'm not a Jets or Dolphins fan, I appreciate you guys making it exciting, especially the Jets. That was a fun ending to that game for sure. Let's move on to the biggest winners of the day yesterday. And that, without question, was the Baltimore Ravens. Not only did the Ravens get a win with their backup quarterback in the lineup, not Lamar Jackson, but the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals, the two teams that they are chasing in the AFC North, both lost. So I think it was a great day for Baltimore Ravens fans, great day for their team, obviously. They essentially saved their season yesterday with combined with those two losses by their divisional rivals. Had they lost yesterday, chances are season's not going to have the chance to go the way they want it to go. Um, I will say also, the reason they saved their season is because they got back to what their strength is, and that's feeding King Henry and imposing their will on the ground. They did a great job of that. Their defense showed up again. Let they've been much maligned all season and deservedly so. The last two games they've given up 17 points and then 16 points yesterday. So something seems to have changed on the defense as well. And right now, believe it or not, Baltimore at 2-5 is the actual betting favorite to win the AFC North. And that's because the rest of the teams are kind of falling apart and not looking promising for them. Speaking of that game, though, on the flip side, for the Bears, we talked about it on Saturday, Justin and I did. And we said that the Bears needed this game just as much as the Ravens do to really solidify themselves as an NFC playoff contender. And unfortunately for them and their fans, in the words of Denny Green, the Bears are who we thought they were. They're a young team that's not quite ready to be considered a real contender in the NFC. You got plenty of time to change that narrative and continue to improve, continue to get better this season. But for right now, the Chicago Bears are not quite ready to hang with the big dogs just yet. So, Bears, you still got some time, but you're still kind of Cubs right now. You're not the Bears. Uh, Also, another takeaway that I had from yesterday's game, and for those of you that have Sunday ticket, or maybe you're a Browns fan and you watch that game, is it just me or does Myles Garrett seem like a miserable man? This guy could potentially be the defensive player of the year again. He got 5 sacks yesterday, and his team never had a chance to win the game. You could see the look on his face at the end of the game. He was disgusted. My question when I saw that was, is he disgusted with the fact that he had a great game and he continues to be an all elite player on a terrible team that's going nowhere? Or is he more frustrated with the fact that he didn't stand on business in the offseason and stand on his request for a trade? I think it's the latter. Money can't always buy happiness. It, it buys security. It gives you peace of mind and things like that. But money doesn't always buy you happiness. And I think Miles Garrett is finding that out. And he probably wishes he would have stood on business and stood on his trade request this past offseason. Because, I mean, at this point, he's made enough money. It's not like he would have went to another team and had to take a major pay cut. He still would have got plenty of money. Um, but he'd be maybe with a chance to win, which I think is probably more important to him right now. So I feel for the guy, but at the same time, when you make a decision for money, sometimes that's all you come away with is money. So also, I'm gonna stick on the Cleveland front here. It's time. Whenever he's 100%, it's time to put Shador Sanders in and let's see what you got. Clearly, Joe Flacco was not the problem. You traded him away, which was dumb if you ask me, but he clearly was not the problem because the offense still stinks. He had 213 total yards on offense yesterday. Way to go. um, Dylan Gabriel, he's shown some plays here and there, but he hasn't really elevated the offense at all. Yesterday, he went 21 for 35, 156 yards. He did have two touchdowns, but he also had two costly interceptions as well. So I think at this point, it's time to see Sanders and let's see what you got. Because Stefanski has nothing to lose. I mean, he's most likely getting fired at the end of the year if he doesn't turn it around. I know he signed an extension before the 2024 season. Right after that, though, he promptly went 3-14, and so far is only 2-6 this year. So extension doesn't really matter if you're not winning games. We all know that the NFL stands for not for long for coaches if you keep losing games. And right now, Kevin Stefanski is going to keep his job not for long. So Cleveland, put Shador in there. Let's see what you got. Who knows? Maybe him and maybe he and Judkins are the perfect combination for you. Maybe you get some of that New York Giants excitement around your team. I'll tell you one team that is super excited though, and they should be, and that's the Indianapolis Colts. Let me tell you. What I took away from the Indianapolis Colts game yesterday is Jonathan Taylor is the MVP of the NFL. And if he continues on this pace and he doesn't win the award, then they just need to change it to the best quarterback award and stop calling it the MVP award. The man scored three more touchdowns yesterday. He's on track for 29 total touchdowns. He's on track for over 2,200 total yards from scrimmage. And quite frankly, I don't think anyone can change my mind right now. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. But quite frankly, he's the best player in the NFL right now. And it's not even close. He's definitely been the best player this season so far, and not even close. So Jonathan Taylor is the MVP. And if he does it, if he keeps on this pace that he's on and production that he's doing, and he doesn't get the award, they should just get rid of the entire freaking award, in my opinion. So there you go. JT for MVP. Let's talk about Sunday night football. First thing I want to say about Sunday night football, and I think I said it a couple weeks ago about the Chargers. Can we please get rid of these ugly ass yellow uniforms that you let these teams go out there and wear? Get rid of them. I understand the nostalgia. I understand the throwback. We want to do all of that. We like the color rush from time to time. But good Lord, stop letting these teams go out there in those ugly ass jerseys with they're just an eyesore. I I'm surprised you don't get complaints about people having seizures watching them games. Those jerseys are ugly. And later this year, when Green Bay wears them ugly ass jerseys that they wear, don't. Don't do it. Refuse. Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and the rest of the team, you should refuse to wear those ugly ass jerseys they're going to try to send you out there with. And from now on, any team, when they try to send you out there with those ugly ass, all yellows, say no. Say no. Trust me, the entire NFL fan base will thank you. All right, now let's talk about the actual game Sunday night. Will the real Green Bay Packers please stand up? And will you please decide which team you are going to be this year? Are you going to be the team that showed up in the first half and struggled on offense to put points on the board against a well below average defense? Or are you going to be the team that showed up in the second half that could do almost no wrong whatsoever? We would love to know. If the team that showed up in the second half against the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday shows up for the Green Bay Packers for the rest of the year, the Green Bay Packers are going to go to the Super Bowl and might be the favorite. That's how good they looked in the second half. But you got to do it consistently. Can't be just for a half. Can't be just for a game. One game here, one game there. You got to do it consistently. And if you can, Green Bay Packers have a chance to do something with Jordan Love that they haven't been able to do in a long time, and that's get to the Super Bowl. Long, long time. 15 years, I believe. Something like that. Either way, if that team shows up that showed up in the second half, Packers going to Santa Clara. The team that showed up in the first half, Packers going home early in the playoffs. That's all I can say. Again, from that same game, Sunday night game, I'm going to throw it out there, and I could be wrong, but I think that the Aaron Rodgers fairy tale ending in Pittsburgh isn't happening. I said at the beginning of this season that the Pittsburgh Steelers would have their first losing record underneath Mike Tomlin this year. And I thought it would be because of an aging quarterback who couldn't do it anymore. I'm going to take that back and I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers has not fallen off the cliff like I thought he has. He's definitely not as good as he used to be, obviously, at 41, but he's definitely he's capable. He's above average quarterback still, I believe. Okay. So I was wrong about that. However, I still may be right about the Pittsburgh Steelers ending with their first losing season under Mike Tomlin. After starting 4-1, right? They've lost two in a row now. They're 4-3. They have the number 6 remaining strength of schedule. They still have games left against Indianapolis, the Chargers, the Bills, the Lions. They still have 2 more games against Baltimore, who seems to be trending in the right direction. So I don't think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers' fault, but I do believe that it's very possible that the Steelers end the year with their first losing season with Mike Tomlin as their head coach. Their defense is terrible. Yet it's the most expensive defense in the NFL. Go look it up. So make that make sense. You spend the most money, but you're not getting any kind of production. Couldn't stop leaky faucet. I mean, goodness, that's bad. So Pittsburgh, you got to do something. You got to figure it out on defense. Otherwise, you're staring at an 8-9 season. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at your schedule. You got a tough row. You got a tough row to hoe. Good luck if that defense keeps showing up the way they did last night and the week before. So that is just about all I got for after further review for week 8 of the NFL season. I appreciate the of you that listened and stuck around for that entire session of me babbling and talking about things that I probably know nothing about and act like I do. So thank you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Download and take us with you on the go. If you are listening on YouTube or on YouTube Music, we appreciate that as well. Again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow. And be on the lookout for the next I Could Be Wrong Sports podcast. I Could Be Wrong Wednesday coming up here in a couple of days. And until next time, I'm going to leave you with my final two thoughts. As always, don't forget division is a math problem. It should never be a people problem. And be kind. It is free, unless you're talking to Cowboys fans. Peace.